So, the translations are out for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 361, and let's just say that there are some interesting developments with 3 specific characters that give them a little bit more depth to them and reveal some interesting information about them that could affect the story moving forward. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but first, right after this. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Manga Man Drew, and I'm here to do my review of My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 361, titled Anomaly. And this chapter is actually an anomaly because it is actually a very short chapter. Only 11 pages, and I know what you're thinking. Is Hirokoshi alright? Is Horikoshi alright? Is he going through any issues? Well, we actually do not know. We don't know why it's only been 11 pages, so there's nothing really in the air about his health. Maybe he just wanted to have this chapter be 11 pages. I cannot say for certain. All I know is that even in these 11 pages, there is a fair amount to really talk about. So let's talk about it because there is something interesting that I want to discuss more, and it involves Shigaraki. So, when it comes to this chapter, it starts off from where we left off last chapter with a slight caveat. We're actually focusing on a specific individual that still resides in this new individual that I'm going to be deeming Shigaraki because it combines Tomura, Shigaraki, and All For One into one person, and they both share the common name of Shigaraki. So, most likely than not, I'm going to be referring to him as Shigaraki, as I do believe that this individual does also refer to himself as Shigaraki. But the thing that is very interesting in this chapter is that we see that there is an outburst coming from Shigaraki from a unexpected source named Tomura. Yes, the little kid that kept scratching his eye, cared about his dog, and murdered his entire family still resides somewhere inside of All For One, and that he is able to fight back and produce an outburst from Muriel's response, because as he's thinking in his own head about friends, he thinks about the friends that he had when he was younger and how he says, I do have friends. I do have friends. They like to play with me. And I think this one individual is cool. So of course I have real friends. And this outburst is so stunning and so unexpected for Muriel that he just has to say, I'm sorry. Oh no! As he gets attacked by a whole wave of hands. So this is a very interesting development, and I will probably discuss this point a little bit more later on in a different video, but I believe this is what Shigaraki is dealing with. As we see in a panel, we see that apparently Tinko is an individual that has been inside of Shigaraki trying to prevent him from doing everything that he wants to the fullest, and that this may be the explanation for what's going on with his right hand, how he was unable to use decay in his right hand for that moment when the war started. That could be the involvement of Tinko, and that this is something that Shigaraki realizes, and that it's something that he's not going to be accounted for, because Shigaraki confirms that he's assimilated All For One, he's assimilated Tomura, but he hasn't been able to assimilate Tinko Shimura. So as I was stating in a different video, I think that this is going to be a development that is going to be the crux of All For One being defeated, of Shigaraki being defeated. And unfortunately, similar to how All For One ignores this problem, Shigaraki is also ignoring this problem and trying to go after Bakugo, which actually leads to a second part of the development in this chapter for a character number 2, Nejire. Because we get a short explanation for how these big 3 were going to help and distract All For One, or distract Shigaraki in this moment. Hado is going to serve as a distraction alongside Tamaki while Muriel goes in to rescue Bakugo. And while Muriel is there, he will be fighting against Shigaraki one-on-one on his own because he cannot be damaged, and try to distract him long enough for Tamaki to do some heavy damage on him. Because as we see that Shigaraki is still approaching Bakugo, still trying to kill him, Best Genius is able to defend him as much as possible. Hado comes in with her attack. She unfortunately misses and does get heavily damaged, as you just have Shigaraki claim, it's like, oh, it looks like you thought this was going to be my casket. Actually, you made your own. Where this is where we get some new information or some new development with Hado as a character, and that the idea of Hado is that when she was younger, and this may be a translation issue, that when she was younger, specifically likely probably around her first year at UA, she may have thought that she was better than everyone else because she has a powerful quirk. And that she's looking at Shigaraki right now, and she says that she cannot stand him because he has a very similar mentality. That because he has a better quirk than everyone else, and that he thinks that he's so much more powerful, that he doesn't need to get to know and want to be around people. But when it comes to Hado, it's the exact opposite. She may have had a very powerful and very destructive quirk, but because of it, people were distant from her, that they really didn't want to approach her, and that even though we don't really see it, she explains that this is something that she wanted, and that she wanted to be around people, and that she wanted to express her emotions around people, but by doing so caused them to be pushed away from her, so that people would try not to get close to her, or that they would run away from her. So she seems to be someone that was very lonely during her potentially first few years at UA, most likely her first year at UA, but that all changed because of Tamaki, who does the exact same thing that Mirio did to him, just showing really like a sort of like line of succession of Mirio helping Tamaki and then Tamaki helping Nejire. And as Nejire explains from her perspective, because of this, she was able to grow closer to everyone, and doing so allowed her to grow much stronger, which is very impactful and very important because this kind of ties into a theme of My Hero Academia, that what does it mean to be a hero, and that I believe that the explanation Horikoshi or Horikoshi is going with is that when it comes to being a hero, it's someone who is willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good and to try to help and save as many people as possible no matter what, because they've grown closer to more people. And that Nejire also embodies this as well, showing that with her character, it ties bigger and more into this theme of My Hero Academia, and I really enjoy that because me personally, I've always enjoyed Nejire. I probably enjoyed Nejire more than I enjoyed both Mirio and Tamaki, mainly based off her personality and her attitude, but just by the fact that she is a rounded character. She isn't just someone who just wants to be a hero and then that's just her personality. No, she's energetic, she's bubbly, she has connections with her mentor in a very different way than both Tamaki and Mirio have with their mentors. She also has friends outside of the hero course. She had a rivalry with the pageant girl. There is a lot more depth to her than people want to give credit for, and that there is more to her character than her just being the girl of the group, and that she has shown multiple times to be very powerful, and now we're getting a little bit more depth and development to her character, and this is just amazing to me. And hopefully this chapter can bring more light to Nejire and her character so that she can be risen out of the ranks of just being, oh, she's just a girl character. No, she's actually a character with actual things involving her character, her personality, and now a little bit more of her backstory. So yeah, as Nejire seems to have been attempting to attack Shigaraki, this apparently leads to her having a bigger plan. Because as she's thinking, and as Mirio is thinking, that when it comes to Tamaki, it takes a while for him to unleash his full power, and that it takes a considerable amount of time. Because then you have this reveal that when it comes to Nejire, she wasn't necessarily trying to attack Shigaraki, but actually she was sending her energy towards Tamaki. And that when it comes to Tamaki's ability, his true potential, it takes a lot of time to prepare to unleash it. And at the end of this chapter, we have both Nejire and Mirio thinking to themselves that when it comes to Tamaki, that he may have the best shot of dealing considerable damage to Shigaraki, and that we get a double page spread of Tamaki with his arm transformed into just this big mound of meat and flesh of many different animals as well as other plant life with Hado's energy. The implication that Nejire sent the energy to Tamaki and Tamaki ate it. And as the chapter ends with Sun Eater is the one that can do this, it ends with Tamaki's quirk awakening. End of chapter. So this is a very interesting chapter, even though it is relatively short. we get a little bit more characterization for Shigaraki, specifically that Tenko lives inside of Shigaraki and is fighting back, and I believe this is actually tying into the purpose of Star and Stripe, allowing us to realize that Tenko was still in there so that this wouldn't be that much of a surprise, or as some people would say, an ass pull by the fact that he still resides inside of him, because we've seen it twice prior to this moment. So it makes sense, which will potentially lead to this attack potentially doing a lot more damage on Shigaraki than we as the audience may predict. It may like blow off, like not necessarily a leg, but it may like blow off chunks of his body. It may like rip off most of his face again. It may even destroy his left arm. There's so much potential that can come from this one move, and that it's coming from Tamaki. And they were hyping up Tamaki in this chapter a lot, from both Mirio as well as Nejire, and that if this attack doesn't do that much damage, I will be a little bit disappointed because of how cool it looks and how much food and combinations of foods makes it up. You have bugs, you have scorpions, apparently there's some zebra in there, so actually seeing this colored would be, oh gosh, that's going to be amazing when we see this page, as well as you just have Hato's energy, and that it pretty much looks like a cannon. So we are getting the hype up for Tamaki, so most likely next chapter we're going to see Tamaki release this attack, and hopefully it does massive damage to Shigaraki, as well as we get a unexpected character development for Nejire with her backstory and how she may have been someone that was a little bit more stuck up, or just someone who was unable to connect with people because of her personality, but that Tamaki was able to help her break through to everyone else in her class so that she can be more friendly with everyone, and by there be more stronger, or be stronger, which ties into a theme of My Hero Academia about how friendship and being together helps lift up hero society and makes heroes stronger as a whole. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed this chapter, hopefully you enjoyed this review, and let me ask you, what did you think of Tamaki in this chapter? Do you think that he will be able to do some massive damage to Shigaraki? And what did you think of Hato getting character development in this chapter? Leave your thoughts down in the comments down below, leave a like on the video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. Do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!